Ms. Suseela, a visionary educationist, has led VVPGS to become the #1 ICSE school, excelling in holistic education and individual attention. She broke the mold by participating in Microsoft's annual Skype-a-thon, allowing Vishwa Vidyapeeth students to virtually visit global classrooms and engage in cultural exchange. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Next up, it gives me great pleasure to invite on stage Dr. P. Krishna, Honorary General Secretary, Seshadripuram Educational Trust. He is a visionary leader whose life blends intellect, service and social reform. Dr. Krishna is a multidisciplinary scholar with degrees in engineering, law, sociology and journalism and a PhD in business administration. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Our next panelist is Ms. Brinda Srinivas, founder and director, Child Montessori and 10th Royal Academy. She is a passionate educationist who champions holistic, child-centered learning. As founder and director of Child Montessori and 10th Royal Academy, she emphasizes independence, curiosity, and academic excellence. By blending core academics with arts, sports, and cultural exposure, she nurtures well-rounded, socially responsible individuals. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining the discussion. Our next panelist is Mr. Rajiv Kumar, Director of 10X International School. He is the esteemed Director of 10X International School, Mysuru, with over 24 years of distinguished experience in teaching, educational leadership, and IB curriculum implementation. Mr. Rajiv is a respected thought leader in progressive education. He is a certified IBDP mathematics, analysis, and approaches high-level examiner, IA moderator, and IB Educators Network program leader. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Last but not the least, Mr. Tanveer Ahmed, CEO of Little Flower Public School and Mitra Academy. He leads 2 educational institutions in Bengaluru. He is a visionary educationist. Mr. Ahmed brings a rare blend of corporate acumen and academic passion with qualifications in engineering, business administration, and education. From his early days at Bishop Gordon's Boys School to his time as a business analyst in the US, he has consistently pursued excellence, leaving behind a corporate career. He chose to become an edupreneur, revolutionizing school education. A very warm welcome to you, sir. I will now hand it over to Ms. Suseela Santhosh, who is the moderator for this discussion, to please take it forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon to everyone present here. Hope you're all active after a heavy lunch. And the topic given for us is very, very important for any school to operate and to go ahead. It's collaborative curriculum design, aligning Indian classrooms with global learning standards. As we all know, we are creating the future citizens who are not placed only in India, but they are placed across the world. Now here comes a challenge, how we are going to collaborate the curriculum, unlike the traditional ways how we had earlier. And we'll be having on panel, the esteemed panelists here. There are a set of questions for each one of them, and at the end I would like to request even the audience to contribute something to this point, because it's very important for all of us to share the ideas and thoughts. So the first question goes to Rajiv Kumar sir. What is a collaborative curriculum and how does it differ from the traditional curriculum?
Thank you for the question. So when we talk about the collaborative curriculum design, as the name in itself makes it clear that it's the outcome of a collaboration. Collaboration not only in the teacher or the coordinator or the principal, but the collaboration between teachers, students, subject experts, parents, and even at times the input coming from the industry. And this is very, very important. If the curriculum needs to be relevant in the time, the way things are changing, we call this word a VUCA world. So it is very important we take the input from every possible stakeholder. Now when it comes to the difference between the traditional approach and the collaborative curriculum design, we can discuss it in different aspects. One of them could be the decision making. In the traditional approach, it was the principal or one particular person, an author or one organization who is taking all the calls. So the syllabus was made and it was pushed down to the teacher and to the students. and their voice was never represented. While when we talk about the curriculum design, collaborative design model CCD, in this all stakeholders are together. Their voices are represented, their inputs are taken, so that it represents a cultural responsiveness and it also represents the inclusivity very clearly, which is a very important aspect in today's world. The second aspect we can talk about the process. In the first case, as I mentioned, it is pushed down, it is designed at the top and then rest of the people are following that. While in the case of collaborative curriculum design, it's a very interesting cycle. You design it, you pilot it, you collect the data, and you pivot it. If you think that there are certain changes are required, you pivot it. And that's how you ensure the success of such design. And the third aspect that can be used to compare this is the teacher learning. How the teacher is learning in the entire process, because teacher is the main entity who is driving it forward. So in the traditional approach, whenever a curriculum was designed and it was pushed down, there was always master trainers. These master trainers used to train the other trainers, and which then going to the individual teachers. So there are separate PDs designed for these teachers. So that is the difference in the approach. While when we talk about the CCD, since all these individual stakeholders are part of it, their learning, their design process in itself becomes the PD for everyone to learn. So I think these are very, very important aspects which makes it very clear that how a traditional approach and the CCD is different and how the CCD is relevant in today's world.
Thank you, sir. And I think all of us have gone through the NEP, which also speaks about the collaborative curriculum design. Instead of a person taking decisions, you have a co-creation with the teachers and other heads who are there in the institution also, so that each one of them takes up the responsibility equally. Sir, the question now is to Udi sir, Udi Krishnan sir. How can technology be integrated effectively into curriculum design?
Good afternoon, all of you. After a heavy lunch, I think it will be difficult for you to sustain this discussion, but then I am very happy that this Education Today has organized such a meaningful discussion. This is very most relevant, and Madam Suseela beautifully said, it is the need of the hour, and then this is also aligned with the new education policy. That's most important. Friends, I am not an expert in school education. All that I can say is I was a good student during school days and an obedient student as was expected of my days. I went through, as my co-panelist said, the curriculum that was designed by somebody, administered by our teachers, and we were at the receiving end. Because we never knew this idea of what is called collaborative curriculum. We came to know of this, all this, after we came into this, after our education and came into our professional life. See, earlier the whole curriculum was so designed that it was very prescriptive. Somebody would design it, somebody would then say, this is how it should be. Those were the days, British days, that we had such kind of education system. We all know that very well. But now, today, world over, curriculum is being designed on a democratic basis, consulting all the stakeholders concerned, the parents, teachers, students, community, everyone. In fact, when the NEP 2020 was discussed during those days, about 5 years back, and I was also involved in one such discussion. I said the first thing that the NEP formulators should have done is to first ask the students what they want, because the new education policy is being revised. What do you expect? The expectations of the present students, expectations of the students who have just passed out, and also very many seniors who have been the previous policy. Why I say this is, ultimately all decisions that we take in the education field centers around students. We want to have a student-centric approach in all our activities, in all our policy making, etc. And therefore, students should be at the center of the whole curriculum design. This is my emphasis. Second thing is, see, today we are in a technology-driven world. Technology none can fight. It has been moving at its own pace, and it's been so difficult to catch up sometimes. Though I am a technocrat myself, I tell you, I am one of those last, class of teachers, those what you call the chalk and talk teachers. So thereafter, a lot of technology came into the teaching learning process, and today there is, I think, no school which is not touched by technology. No aspect of life is left untouched. And therefore, technology is becoming all permeating. And technology also you have to be very careful. Mahatma Gandhi very beautifully told us, technology is good, but it should not overpower us. See, technology should help, it should be an enabler, but it should not overpower us, and to such an extent that it should replace the teacher herself or himself. And therefore, what I want to tell is, technology should have the role of an assisting role, but not that of a dominating role. The teacher is always inevitable, and I tell you, at the center of conceptual learning, it is the teacher who is very, very much important. And therefore, technology is, as we must understand, should be an enabler and not a decisive decision maker. And while we all think of integrating technology, technology has by itself permeated it, it is already integrated into our curriculum. And therefore, technology as a tool, need to be used properly. And one thing that I have experienced is, many of our teachers, particularly senior teachers, have still some kind of a resistance towards these technological tools. And how we can overcome that, is really a very big issue. And speaking at the society level, see, we are all, most of us here are from the urban schools, but there are rural schools. India is really, geographically and in so many aspects, diverse. And this rural-urban digital divide is also a matter of great concern. And how to bridge this gap is a thing that all of us must think and do. And how to see that teachers do not resist to change. And whenever we introduce a new kind of software or a platform, we have people resisting sometimes, not the junior one, but then the senior teachers. Why I say this is, we need to somehow see that everyone becomes tech savvy. Even children, teachers, educators, and everyone at all levels, even management should also become tech savvy. Otherwise, technology you cannot bring it to the fullest extent in all our educational institutions. And that way, technology is a blessing. It is an enabler. It is, it helps us to do things speedily. But we must keep in mind that it is not going to replace the teacher. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Ms. Brinda, this is for you. How does collaborative curriculum design ensure cultural responsiveness and inclusivity?
Good afternoon. In this age of globalization and technology, I think it's very important that our children are exposed to our culture. So that is what is makes them rooted to our culture, and they understand. Once they understand, they reflect our culture, and they will be able to understand the culture of other nationalities and other cultures. Collaborative curriculum is not a framework. I personally feel it's a mindset. It's a mindset where the child leads the teacher's guide and parent supports and the community enriches. This is when education becomes inclusive, relevant and impactful. One of the greatest strengths of collaborative curriculum is that it allows culture and inclusivity to enter the classroom naturally. At our school, Pembroke Academy, cultural activities are an important part of our curriculum. In fact, all the children explore one period of art every single day, and that kind of gives them a feel of what is it that they belong to. And I personally feel this reflects on them, and then they will be able to understand the culture and inclusivity of other communities and yeah.
So basically, it's where curriculum designing when we do the cultural awareness be for any child from any cultural background. They need to be grounded into the root of our country so that they understand thoroughly everything, whatever is happening around, and that strengthens them to become global citizens also. So inclusivity is something which we all speak about. It doesn't mean only the physical fitness and also the mental ability of a child. We have to have inclusiveness both in terms of physical and mental also. Tanvi sir, this question is for you. How can we ensure character building through sports? Now when we speak about collaborative curriculum, sports is something which is coming up in a big way even in India, where children are very keen to get into sports. And how can we ensure that character building is happening through sports?
Very good. Where recently we saw how the Asia Cup was concluded. So based on that, I think sports has a certain set of rules, values that are imbibed into the children, and I think every school has to integrate sports in the curriculum. That goes without saying. And then it is part of holistic development. So now character building in terms of first thing, it teaches you discipline, it teaches leadership qualities in children, and then healthy competition, accepting losses, and then rejoicing to an extent where they need to, and they have to reflect on how things went, and hopefully the children of today, now most of them are into gadgets. So only the fingers are getting exercised and nothing else. So with regard to collaborative curriculum, yes, it caters to all the domains, that is the cognitive, affective and psychomotor. So as part of this psychomotor, I'm sure physical development, sports is definitely necessary, and it will anyways by any which ways it will definitely build a character in the child when it is done in the right way, played in the right spirit. So that's how it has to be taken up. And most importantly, I think for whatever it is, whether it's sports, whether it's academics, the teacher, the physical education teacher plays the most important role here. So I would have a passion for cricket if I had a good teacher who taught me cricket. I can still remember the days from my school. The physical education teachers we were all scared of them. So we never had that liking towards sports because of the fear. So I think that is something that schools will have to look into, having quality teachers where they have built that love towards sports. And then I think any character can be built if somebody loves what they do.
Thank you so much, sir. I heard Dr. Girish Kannan speaking about not physically, or a child cannot be successful only by the marks what they score, but also with the mental health what the child has. In this context, there are a lot of changes which are brought in by the CBSE curriculum also with regard to the assessment patterns of the child. So I would request Pudi sir to answer this question. What evaluation methods to be developed to determine the effectiveness of teaching learning process to meet the global standards? We are speaking about the global standards. So what is your opinion about the teaching learning process?
I think about the teaching learning process, the most important thing is to assess the teaching outcomes. And today I think we have to assess how much the student has grasped in terms of various kinds of assessments that are now devised across the globe. And for a curriculum to really be effective, the most important thing is you should know, you should be able to measure the outcomes of the teaching learning process. And there are many methods. Of course, I am not a scholar, as I already told you, in the school education, but I can tell you there are so many metrics that have been developed across the education sector, which help students, in level of understanding to be assessed. And the most important thing here in any teaching learning process, as I understand, is the teacher has to be fully equipped, try to do their best, and also try to keep the student interest in mind. Ultimately, understanding and making them understand is the key in the whole process. And I'm reminded of one saying which I saw on a magazine. It said, "World over, children walk to school and run back home." So we have to take care that learning becomes a joyful process. The whole exercise of learning and teaching should be a joyful process. Only then I think we can reverse this trend. The children start running to school and walk back. I think this is the core emphasis that I want to get.
Thank you, sir. This question is, can cultural exchange be a part of the learning experience for students in terms of globalization?
Yes, definitely required, especially in our country. So I was, of course, studying in the United States. I was part of one of the exchange programs where I went and spent 2 semesters in the United States, and then students from there also came. So we get to learn each other's culture. I mean, they get to learn how things function here. The biggest, I still remember when I was there, we are always used to the pen paper form of assessment. So we had this open book exam when it was very new to me. I mean, from India. And for them, when they experienced our method of testing, they were kind of shocked because they are usually used to the objective kinds and open book exams. But for us, that was completely new to us. So, but that was more difficult than a closed book exam. So it is we get to. I mean, if it is done where children go across, it's both ways. They understand our culture, we understand their culture, and it is. I like in this area of globalization. I mean, in this era, I think children must be exposed everywhere. So wherever they go, they must learn to survive, whether it's India, whether it's any other country, and that can be achieved only through education and exposure. So I think most important is the exposure, and with these cultural exchange programs, I'm sure children will survive anywhere, and we must prepare children to be independent wherever they are in the world.
Unlike the routine, I would want to pose a question to the audience here to make more lively, wherein your contributions matter a lot. So I just want to understand, when you speak collaborative curriculum design, what is your perspective? See, when we started the panel, they said it is collaboration between the teacher, the principal, and the heads. This is one perspective. So what do you understand by collaborative curriculum design in your own way? There's nothing right or wrong. Can anybody contribute what you have understood with regard to the collaborative curriculum design, what we are speaking? Anybody would want to just share your thoughts? Yes, madam. Can we get a mic there, please?
This is entirely my perspective on this issue. I feel inclusive education plays a very important role, and most of the time the general curriculum probably does not include things and aspects that with regards to special children or children with special needs. So when we are framing a curriculum, I think teachers who are trained to handle this should also be part of the curriculum making, And we can also have a few parents on it, because sometimes the parents also give us some good inputs, and we can have parents also on the panel so that we can all sit together and brainstorm when we are framing a curriculum.
So your perspective is to be more inclusive, wherein you try to include children and take their perspectives also.
Because I think it's mostly because the regular teachers are not equipped to handle certain things in the class when it comes to special children. So many times they do not understand the symptoms or the signs when a child is actually having learning difficulties. So when we frame a curriculum and we have so many different children in the class, it's always good to have somebody from a different perspective.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. In my perspective, collaboration is all about bringing in different perspectives and ideas to the table. It brings an open-mindedness, collaboration and involvement of all stakeholders, including parents, as she mentioned, including students from their perspective, and even outside third-party members if the curriculum is being designed for a school or a group of schools or even for a state or a nation. And like we have here on this forum, we have the IB, we have the NEP, and we have different representation of principals from different curricula. So collaboration will bring in a lot of openness to the whole curriculum design. Technology can be one tool through which we can actually collaborate and do well. So that's my perspective.
Thank you so much. We can take one more.
Very beautiful concepts I was also talking about is about collaborative learning, and what they did is they usually do it as something which is hypothetical. So say for example, I was in a particular class in Chicago. They said very beautifully, if Niagara Falls was in Chicago, how would the economy of Chicago have changed? So children had to learn math, children had to learn a lot of history, children had to learn geography, children had to collaborate, they had to come up with a hypothetical thing, and they made one of the best presentations I've ever seen of what collaborative learning of interdisciplinary things can be, where the children are self-driven to find a solution to an existing problem. And I think that's the way forward which AI cannot do. And then when children start thinking out of the box, bringing things together, going interdisciplinary, going to the math teacher and saying, sir, tell me how much water comes in, how will the water go out, which is the runway for getting the water. So that way, I think this should be the way we bring in collaborative learning of interdisciplinary, inter-subject, and also getting the children to think and act on something which I think which is very personalized to them also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. This is what we call in like before a teacher starts a class, if a social studies teacher is going to teach about the day and night, that is a interesting topic what the teacher can teach. But then if we ask them a question, why there is sun and moon both seen in the morning hours in the sky? So this creates a thought process in the child and they start thinking about it, so that entire class will be more attentive, wherein which the child starts appreciating the teacher. And also a question like, immediately after rain, when you see the sunlight, why does a rainbow be formed? Why there are only 7 colors, and why violet is in one end and red is in the other end? Why in the traffic signals we have only red color? These are certain questions which can be collaborated, which are in the real life situations. Like most of the times, the physics principles are taught as the principles which are to be learned. For example, the centripetal and the centrifugal force, what they learn. But none of us, or they wouldn't even know how the flush actually works in the commerce. These are certain examples what we can give. So collaboration doesn't alone mean about inclusive and other aspects, but bringing in all the subjects together and making the children understand. The last question, which will be posted in general to everybody to take your individual opinions, is collaborative approach similar to the curricular system of education in our past? Can we correlate, or can we have any correlation? I will take all the 4 opinions on this, and each I think that will be good. Yes, sir.
Of course, the pattern is little different. Gurukula system of education in the earlier days was restricted to a very few students. There, the whole emphasis was how to live in the company of a teacher. The whole basic emphasis was on character formation. basic human values like obedience, respect to elders, and basically leading a simple life, doing things all by themselves, and living a simple, frugal life. So these are the things that you learn in a Gurukula system. More than anything, the most important thing in Gurukula system is the imparting of moral and spiritual education. Today in this modern curricula, somehow we have missed this, moral and spiritual education, all in the name of overemphasizing the concept of secularism. So I think somewhere down the line, I feel that the earlier Gurukula system, though it was restricted to a few people, the quality of education was something exemplary. Today, that was individual centered, student centered. Today, what has happened is we have had what is called as mass education, and through this mass education, we are talking of 360-degree education, trying to give in piecemeal everything that is possible. But that is not the real purpose. It is not that we want to give everything, a bit of everything and then see. But what we want to do is develop character. That is what I tell you. Collaborative curriculum should help, in building up the character of the student. And for that, I tell you, even the community has a greater role to play. You ask, you have to take feedback, right from the policeman, right from the postman, everyone in the society. You can take the feedback from them and what they expect of children in the society, what they expect of their citizens. I think all these things matter a lot.
Collaboration is very close to the holistic approach. It caters to arts, values, life skills, and learning, of course. And we are trying to achieve the same here, but with larger numbers. And actually, it's not as personalized as it was at that point. I think the Guru knew everything about the child and took care of the mental wellness of the child as well, and ensured that he goes to the next stage successfully. Here, if the child is not able to, there are ways where people don't know how to deal with it if the child is not going ahead. So that is something which we need to take care of.
So, if we compare the Gurukul system with the collaborative curriculum model, there are some similarities and there are some very clear differences. Differences are there because of the context. That time context was absolutely different. And the modern needs today, technology, as sir mentioned, it's a very, very important part. AI, though that time, there was no mention of these kind of things. So there are very clear differences because of reasons like this. But when it comes to the teacher-student bonding, I think that was the best. Because it was in a very small residential way, small one, where the personalization was perfect. Everything was guided by the teacher. As I mentioned about the values, all these things were there. But if you come to the CCD, collaborative curriculum model, and if it is done effectively and properly, and it is implemented across the institution, when I say across the institution, I am assuming that there are n number of centers for that institution. Now, because you have taken care of all the cultural aspects, all the local aspects, you are bound to success. It's just the execution now, how you are executing it. Right? So, once there are differences we talked about, but there, the way you implement it, you will be definitely going to be successful in that. Now, as sir gave the example of US model, I represent an IB school. IB is a very, very good example of collaborative curriculum modeling. In IB, any curriculum, syllabus for a particular subject for that matter, the life cycle is for 7 years. Now the meaning is, after 7 years, whatever the relevant changes are happening in the industry, they will become part of the syllabus. So this means they are very frequent to update. So the need of the students and the need of the industry will be matched. and they will go hand in hand. And that's how the students' education, knowledge and skills remains relevant. So in IB we don't say knowledge as such, we say it's a skill. And as sir mentioned from there, in IB also in every subject, you are supposed to write the answers of those questions. I will not say these are hypothetical questions. I will say now in today's time, these are the real world situations. A simple example. Tomorrow in Mysuru the metro comes. And a hypothetical question to a math student will be given, or maybe a real life question, that how the execution of metro or the starting of metro in Mysuru is going to affect metro. So a very simple example would be a lot of opportunities will be coming in, a lot of people will come to Mysuru, but at the same time a critical thinker will answer it this way also, because from so many other remote places, now the footfall will also increase. And when the footfall will increase, it will come with other set of problems. So this means in today's education, you need to be a critical thinker. While you are thinking about side A, at the same time you need to also think about side B. So I think that way the current collaborative curriculum model is much more better and relevant to our need. Yes.
Thank you, sir. I'm not coming to the teaching, but from what I've read a little bit, and probably those days there was no fees that was being charged. That's the primary difference, I think, compared to now. It was free for the community, for everybody to learn, and of course the assessments probably differ a lot compared to what it was then and what it is now. And there, of course, if you see, a teacher was given the utmost respect. But now, even from the days I remember when I was a student, when it comes to moral values, we had the moral education period or the value-based education, seldom or mostly used for substitution, or there's something else that was done in the class. So that's what is lacking today, and I think that is very, very important. When one is holistic development, then your value-based education, and of course experiential learning. So this value-based education is something that is going away. So it should be a re-collaboration of collaborative curriculum with value-based education. I think that is very important. Nowadays, I can see the change in the children. I mean, the amount of respect they have towards the elders, towards teachers. It's completely going. I don't know. It's primarily. I think the only way the change can come in is with the teachers enforcing or implementing this more inside the classroom. Because other than the parents, who the children admire are the teachers. So whatever parents say, there is little respect for that, but what the teacher says is fine. So I think we really need to have this value-based education instilled in them, and that can be done, of course, in the modern day schools with the wonderful teachers. Yeah.
There was a purpose and reason why I brought in this image of a teacher. A teacher will not remain teacher only in the classroom, but even when the teacher is meant in the market, also she is meant as a teacher. But unfortunately today with technology and social media and everything, we are more eager to showcase what is not supposed to be known to the child also. So when that happens, we continuously blame, today's children are like that, today's children are like that. Today's children are made to be like that by us. Because we behave in such a way like, okay, now those days I didn't have money, today I have everything, now come on, let's give everything to my child and let the child be on social media and let them see whatever is happening. So I feel there should be a lot of emphasis given to the teachers to groom them, to make them understand how they are supposed to be and what they are supposed to be also. Now a lot of changes have been brought in the curriculum also. When you see CBSE or ICSE, a lot of changes are being brought in time to time. But somewhere the failure is the teachers are not aware of the changes which are brought in suddenly. Now again, examination patterns, the HPC report cards which have been come up, there are no sufficient training sessions because of which the teachers are still failing it to bring in the change what is expected in the classrooms also. I think this collaborative curriculum approach, wherein co-creation, all the teachers sitting together with regard to the subjects, or the background, and making the children aware of the moral values, the character and conduct, which is very, very important also. With education, there should be humility. Recently only I heard from one of my friends, like how during the chess competition when Mukesh lost against somebody, the kind of behavior of him, throwing the king of Mukesh aside, this is something which is not acceptable. That's why we included the question also, how you can build the character with sports. A child who is in sports cannot think that they have achieved something, but being grounded, having that humility is something what we are missing in today's children. Altogether, the conclusion of this panel is that each one of us play a significant role, right from the owners of an institution, right from the investors of the institution, till the security or the drivers of the institution should have the same thought process, because children will imitate or children will behave in such a way what they see, not what you tell always. You might sit and speak ours together, but you are not acting in the same way, then it doesn't bring in any kind of value to the children also. So thank you so much for being a part of the panel. I thank all the panelists and I thank all the audience for giving us this opportunity. Thanks to Education Today also for choosing such wonderful topic. Thank you.
The panelists for sharing their insights and thoughts on the topic. I would now request Ms. Vishwa to please join us on stage to felicitate all the panelists. So ladies and gentlemen, that was the second and final panel discussion for the day. I hope it was as inspiring the panelists. Starting off with Suseela Santhosh. Director Vishwa Vidyapeeth Group of Schools, who was also moderating this discussion. Dr. Krishna, Honorary General Secretary, Seshanti to Educational Trust. Let's have a round of applause for the panelists as they are felicitated. Ms. Brinda Srinivas, Founder and Director, Science Montessori and Entab Academy. Rajiv Kumar, Director of 10X International School. And Mr. Tanveer Ahmed, CEO of the Little Flower Public School and Midra Academy. Let's have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for all the panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.